Good evening, everybody, and welcome to tonight's City Council meeting. It is Tuesday, March 18th, and we're certainly pleased to have such a great audience tonight. We'll start our meeting with our roll call of your City Council.
Council members Aguilar.
Here.
Anderson.
Here.
Entenmann.
Here.
Erpenbach.
Here.
Jameson.
Here.
Karski.
Here.
Rolfing.
Here.
Staggers.
Thank you very much. In the City of Sioux Falls, we start our meetings with an invocation, with a prayer. And we're very pleased to have back Care Pastor Carmen Van Scoik of Celebrate Community Church here in Sioux Falls. Welcome back, Care Pastor. Good to have you here. We'd ask you to stand. We'll have the prayer, and then if you'd remain standing for our Pledge of Allegiance, we certainly appreciate that as well.
Heavenly Father, this evening we first of all understand the privilege we have to call upon the name of Jesus. We have so much to be thankful for, and we acknowledge that every good and perfect gift is your provision, extended to every one of us here in this room. And because of that, we say thank you. Tonight we have gathered together in this public setting to freely discuss matters of concern to our community. Thank you for the opportunity and privilege it is to live in a country that protects the freedom we have for a setting like this. I pray for our mayor, your servant, Mike Huther. I ask that you would grant him wisdom and courage to know what's best for Sioux Falls, and that he would do what's necessary to accomplish that good. I also pray for the others sitting here up front, that they would understand how to best serve our community. You have placed them in the unique position of a public servant, having the power to make decisions that will affect many. May they humbly strive to put aside selfish interests for the best of our community. Give each of us clear understanding and wisdom to define the specifics of the tasks before us this evening. We thank you for your presence, provision, and protection, both tonight and in the future. And it's in the name of Jesus Christ we pray this. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, folks, and welcome. I do have a proclamation I'd like to read, and with the folks for tonight, proclamation, just come forward, please. Come forward. Would you like to come forward? Thank you. And tell the people of Sioux Falls your name, please.
Leon Adams.
Leon, thank you for being here. Thank you. Welcome, everybody. Come on forward. Come on forward. And turn around. Very good. The proclamation reads, whereas individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities and traumatic brain injury, their families, friends, neighbors, and coworkers encourage everyone to focus on the abilities of all people. Whereas the most effective way to raise awareness is through everyone's active participation in community activities and for everyone to be open to learning and acknowledging each individual's contribution. Whereas opportunities for individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities and traumatic brain injury to function as independently and productively as possible must be fostered in our community. Whereas all individuals are encouraged to support opportunities for individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities and traumatic brain injury in our community, including full access to education, housing, employment, and recreational activities. Whereas individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities and traumatic brain injury, they deserve nothing less. Now, therefore, I, Mike Huther, Mayor of the City of Sioux Falls, do hereby proclaim March 2014 as Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities and Traumatic Brain Injury Awareness Month in the City of Sioux Falls, and ask that all Sioux Falls community members recognize that our community is stronger when everyone participates. I would encourage all community members to take the time to get to know individuals with disabilities and recognize their abilities and all they have to offer in our community. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Leon. Thank you. Appreciate it. Well, thank you very much. We'll now continue with our consent agenda. Council, any changes to our consent agenda?
Move to approve, Etman.
Second, Karski.
Councilor Edmonds made a motion to approve our consent agenda, seconded by Councilor Karski. Any other changes or motions? A roll call vote, please.
Council members Aguilar,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Intiman,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Jameson,
Yes.
Karski,
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
Thank you. That is passed 7-0. We'll now move to our regular agenda. Council, any changes to our tonight's agenda?
Move to approve.
Second, Karski.
Councilor Jameson's made a motion to approve our regular agenda, seconded by Councilor Karski. If there is no discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Council members Aguilar,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Intiman,
Yes.
Erpenbach,
Yes.
Jameson,
Yes.
Karski,
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
Thank you. That is passed 7-0. Again, what a great crowd tonight for a city council meeting. Certainly pleased that you chose to spend your evening with us. This is a great opportunity for you to engage the council. All we'd ask is that you just come forward, introduce yourself to the people of our town, and then if you could keep your comments to 5 minutes or less, the council would appreciate that. Is there anybody who wanted to speak? Welcome.
Is this agenda item 18, is that right?
No.
Oh, not yet.
No.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, folks, if it's an agenda item later on,
Okay.
wait for that, and then we'll bring you back up. This is for just any general discussions about the city. Would anybody want to, Mr. Danielson, welcome.
This is for any general comments about the city, correct?
You bet.
All right, I'm sorry. Now, my name is Jeff Gould. I do not live in the city. I live just outside the city. A lot of times when I speak to groups, I say what a pleasure it is to be here. I just can't really say that today because I am nervous. I don't want to be here. There's a lot of places I'd rather be, and I do not want to say what I feel needs to be said, but I think it's important for a city, and so I just have to say it. It has to do with compensation. And it has to do with specifically where we get advice as a city and how we pay for that advice when we get it. Advice is super important for how our city moves forward. It determines how we grow. It determines where development is, where traffic is, drainage, corporations, companies. There are millions of dollars at stake. And so the information and the advice we get is of paramount importance. The question is, do we get advice first and then make decisions? Or do we make decisions and then find advice that matches what we like? And there's an important difference. Let me just explain. In the year 2000, I was looking for a home equity loan for my house. I wanted to do the kitchen. And so I went to my bank loan officer and I said, I want to do some work to the kitchen. And he said, how much? And I figured it out. And he said, okay. And what can I help you with? I said, well, I do not want to take out a loan that's more than 80% of the overall value of my house because I don't want to pay for the mortgage insurance. He said, I understand. And according to my calculations, Mr. Gould, we would want your house to be assessed at somewhere around $175,000. I said, that's exactly right. He said, okay. He dialed the phone and he said, hey, Bob, I need you to assess a house at $175,000, and he gave the address and hung up the phone. I said, who was that? He says, that was the assessor. I said, how does that, well, isn't it supposed to be the other way around? He said, well, you want a house loan, don't you? I said, yeah, but isn't he supposed to tell you what the house is evaluated at? And he said he just did. Then I asked, how is this guy paid? He said, we pay him $250 for every assessment. And then I said, what if he doesn't assess the house at $175,000? And he smiled at me and said, don't worry, he will. And he did. Now, I don't understand all of the elements of the housing bubble and housing collapse, but there's one part that I'm very comfortable with. It's that we got the advice we were looking for rather than asking for the advice first. So, as a city, when we grow and we look for traffic input, and we look for drainage input, and we look to fit all these neighborhoods in together so there's a cohesive look, the question we have is, are we getting the advice first, or are we saying to the people that we pay, this is what we want, will it work? And they are now under tremendous pressure to give the perceived answer they want. Now, do I know that's happening? No, I do not. But perception is, many cases, reality. And there is a perception that that is happening. And why do I know that this is happening? Because we see more and more referred things come up to vote. We see more and more petition drives. We see more and more people pushing back saying, what is going on? These statistics we're getting, they don't seem to make sense when we ask other people who are not being paid by the city for their advice. Now that is a concern, not just in 2015, but 2016 and beyond. I do not want to give this advice. I don't want to be here tonight to talk about that. But if I don't talk about it, and this continues, I will feel responsible. I hope I haven't wasted my time, and I hope that you do not ignore your responsibility. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Is there anybody else who, Mr. Dance, please come forward.
I wish I could speak as well as Mr. Gould just did, but...
Sir, if you could just...
Good evening. I'm Bruce Danielson, a resident of Sioux Falls and chairman of Citizens for Integrity. We citizens would like to thank this administration. Some of us have attended a political meeting last Friday to listen to their speaker talk about politics, our town, and his role in it. In my role with Citizens for Integrity, I'm attending as many information meetings as possible. One of these gatherings was last week's Democratic Forum at the VFW. This partisan organization has met for decades every Friday with a different speaker each week. I'm sure many of you have appeared at it. During the post-speech Q&A period, I asked the speaker why these advocacy sessions, disguised as education, didn't cover the 3 Charter Revision Commission ballot measures. And I asked him, why aren't these on the ballot? Or why aren't these in the discussion? Can anyone here tell us what these measures are? This year, the administration is presenting a cute little green trifold advocational brochure disguised as information. I showed it recently when I was here. Disguised as information in a subtle effort to defeat the 4 citizen ballot measures. By the way, 27,000 petition signers would like to know, why didn't the city just pre-mark them for us? This town has asked citizens to be part of the CRC. These people take time to clean up messy language in the city's charter. But I guess it's not worth mentioning. The speaker proceeded to make a sham out of their work. Where the administration, its attorney, printing presses could actually make positive difference, there's nothing presented. The speaker stated we citizens were not interested in the measures, saying in other words to the voter, move along, nothing to see here. Just vote no or ignore these. Remember the charter is the city's equivalence to a state or national constitution. We are being asked to naively make changes to basic city rules the people sitting in front of me are charged with following. At the meeting, the speaker was asked why the silence. His answers included, where do we stop? Plus only citizen efforts garnered the most attention. It's saying, how much do the people really need to know? This was a strange response considering the speaker has consistently promoted political views while on the city's dime and time. For some reason, basic information is not necessary, but advocacy in the name of education is required. We want to be informed, not propagandized. We had a search on the city's website for minuscule charter measure information before we could find it. We have several more city advocational meetings yet to be held. Will the city treat the hard work of the CRC as something we citizens deserve to know about? So to the speaker of last Friday's forum, direct the city attorney's office to put an effort into unbiased information concerning the proposed charter changes. This city government has proven it can make marketing materials. Again, we see the city's dime and time advocating the defeat of 4 citizen ballot efforts while completely ignoring basic city charter rules. The activities of this government once again prove it is not here to help the average person. It has become selective, punitive, and for the privileged. The ballot is sacred. The administration is a joke. So thank you for helping the people of Sioux Falls understand the need for more petition efforts. Thank you.
Mr. Danielson, thank you. Welcome.
Good evening. Greg Neitzer, Sioux Falls. As a member of the Zoning Board of Adjustment for the last 3 years, I've seen how the zoning ordinance affects ordinary citizens negatively. Shaped Places gives homeowners more rights and more options. The current ordinance is outdated and it limits homeowners' rights and options. The current ordinance is 30 years old. It was written at a time when Sioux Falls had 80,000 citizens. We're now 160,000 citizens. It was written for a town the size of Sioux City. It doesn't reflect the new trends and citizen demands. The current ordinance limits homeowners' rights and options. There's only 2 fence options. Older homes, particularly in the core area, such as the Central District, are severely limited for remodeling and redevelopment options. It does not reflect the new trends and citizen demands. Yard signs aren't allowed in your residential district. There's no historic zoning district. And you cannot do detached accessory residences. There's also restricted space for additions, remodeling, detached structures in certain residential zones, even in newer areas. There's limited and inadequate driveway options. There's limited options for those living on corner lots or double frontage lots, a double frontage lot being a lot that has a street on both the front and the back. Shaped Places gives you more rights and more options. Homeowners can do more with Shaped Places. Shaped Places brings zoning into the 21st century. Shaped Places is a dynamic zoning ordinance for a dynamic community like Sioux Falls. It reflects the citizens' and demands and requests over the last several years. This was written from the bottom up. It was written by citizens. It wasn't written by the city. This is exactly what you want in an ordinance. It addresses issues with the current ordinance. More fence options. There's 2 fence options now. Now we have 6 in Shaped Places. It enables older homes to redevelop and improve. Shaped Places reduces the required lot width, required setbacks, and other regulations in the core neighborhoods in the Central District. So they can do things like more garages, detached and attached additions, improvements, covered porches, including 3-seasons and 4-season porches, covered decks, remodeling, reconstruction. All of these things are severely hampered to do because the current ordinance just does not reflect their smaller lots. The new ordinance does. Shaped Places adds a residential historic preservation district. It allows an individual landowner or the neighborhood to voluntarily rezone into a protected zone, and it's meant to preserve the historic character of the neighborhood. No properties in this district are in there at the adoption of Shaped Places. You decide if you want to become part of the district and protect your neighborhood. Shaped Places allows non-commercial yard signs in the residential district. Right now, you can't do support our troops, support our schools, those type of signs. You may remember last year we had a school that had signs, the Catholic school system, and there was a big controversy about it because people couldn't put them in their yards, and they were understandably upset. With Shaped Places, that's been added. Now you can do it. Shaped Places expands driveway options for those living on busy roads. It's very hard to get out on streets like Cliff Avenue. The ordinance was written at a time when you had maybe 1-stall garages. Now you have 2- and 3-stall garages. Shaped Places allows more options for homes on corner lots and double frontage lots, more fences, more driveways, parking pads, more detached structures like garages. There's more area to improve and expand your home in the RS1 residential district. If your home was built in about 1970 to 2005, that's not hard and fast, but in general, you're likely in the RS1 district if you have a big lot. Reduced setbacks means there's more room to build. You can expand and improve. You can do things you couldn't do before, garage additions, home additions, covered decks, and porches. Shade Places benefits homeowners by providing more rights, more options. It preserves and protects property values while still providing maximum protection for residential uses. That's why you should vote yes on Referred Law 3, Shade Places, on April 8th. Thank you.
Greg, thank you as well. Folks, anybody else want to speak to the council? Well, very good. Thank you. Great. Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Ayersman, welcome.
Hello, Scott Ayersman, Sioux Falls. I wanted to talk a little bit about Charter Amendment C, since there hasn't been a lot of education on this to the public. It's actually a very important charter amendment, and I'm surprised that there hasn't really been anything in the news about this. It's pretty simple. The council is looking to assist the mayor in helping to either select or terminate a city attorney. And I think it's a great idea. It's long overdue. I was actually pretty surprised when I started following city politics that the mayor gets to appoint the city attorney. As I've always believed, a city attorney, any city attorney's job is to be working on behalf of the city in the best interests of the public. In other words, making sure that the mayor and the city council don't get themselves in trouble for the best interests of the public. I've encouraged everyone to vote yes on this. I actually believe, we have so many petitions now, but I actually believe that the main city attorney should be elected by the public, and that the city attorney, the main city attorney, David Fifley right now, should be able to hire his staff. And all city employees, doesn't matter if they're a janitor or if they're the mayor or if they're city attorney, they work for us. We pay their paychecks. They ultimately come to work every day for the public. They do not work for a mayor. They do not work for a city council. They assist these people in their jobs. And I think it's only appropriate that the public gets to choose the city attorney. But in this case, it actually helps us a little bit because we elect the city council and they get to have a part and a say in whether or not a city attorney is doing something wrong or if they're qualified for the job. So I'm encouraging everyone to vote yes on Charter Amendment C. And I didn't prepare any videos or an advocation session on this. So this is all you're going to get. It's on Channel 16. So if you hear me, Charter Amendment C, vote yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Folks, anybody else want to address the council? Well, very good. We appreciate the comments. We'll now move on to item number 19.
Conditional use permit appeal 2014-0210. A conditional use permit in the C2 General Commercial District was approved for a temporary or emergency shelter located at 101 North Indiana Avenue. Approved at the March 5th, 2014 Planning Commission meeting with a vote of 7 yes, 0 no.
Good evening. I'm Mike Cooper with City Planning and Building Services, presenting this item tonight for the council consideration. This conditional use permit was heard by the Planning Commission at their last regular meeting, and it was approved by unanimous vote. The applicant is the Catholic Diocese. The property is located on South Indiana Avenue, just south of 8th Street. It's currently a vacant warehouse with an off-street parking lot adjacent on the east side. The conditional use permit is for a temporary or emergency shelter. And I just want to quickly go through some background that I think is important as far as your consideration on this tonight. Again, as the council, you can approve, deny, or you can approve with amendments as far as the Planning Commission recommendation for the conditional use permit. In our zoning ordinance, we have specific requirements for this land use. And the things that we put together as far as a staff report that we needed to address. And I'm going to just go through them really quickly. The location is compatible with characteristics of surrounding uses. The facility is being fully enclosed within a building, except for a designated outdoor enclosed area. The distance between the proposed use and any elementary or secondary school is not less than 1,000 feet. They have to submit a site plan that shows the building and the parking. There has to be the submittal of a written management and security plan. There needs to be a neighborhood meeting prior to the Planning Commission public hearing, which will include a city staff and city council representative. And that meeting was held on February 20th. Council member Erpenbach was there, and Diane DeCoyer from the planning office were represented. And then finally, if a conditional use permit is approved, there's a requirement for additional neighborhood meetings. One will be held 90 days, within 90 days, as operation begins. And then the second one will have to be within the 1-year anniversary. Those are required by ordinance. Now, I think it's important to find out or understand where did these requirements or these standards come from? Well, they came from the citizens. Back in 2005, we were dealing with some real concerns within the Whittier neighborhood. And we put together a task force to look at how we would deal with homeless shelters. And that task force consisted of 25 members, including Whittier neighborhood representatives, business owners, churches, human service agencies, city, county, and school district representatives. And the city council representative back then was Kevin Kavanaugh. That task force met in the downtown library during the months of July and August. And they essentially put together this report, which was presented in September of 2005. And that report said that in the future, when we consider temporary or emergency shelters, there are 7 stipulations or considerations that we should look at. And that's what we are looking at tonight. So again, what we're doing is we're going through this ordinance exactly the way the community said we should almost 10 years ago. So as far as the staff recommendation and the Planning Commission recommendation, the fact that the applicant is meeting all the requirements that was in the task force report as well as the ordinance, I just thought that was important for you to have as far as background information. We put together a map which has a lot of information on it, and I'm just going to kind of quickly skim through this. We listed within the immediate vicinity a number of homeless service agencies that are on the map, including the Banquet, the Salvation Army, South Dakota Department of Labor, St. Francis House, St. Vincent de Paul, the Union Gospel Mission, 2 different locations for the mission, the VOA thrift store, the schools that are in the area, Joe Foss on North Cliff, Terry Redland Elementary, and Whittier Middle School. We have 3 city parks, Heritage Park, Nelson and Drake Springs Park, and then Whittier Park. We also tried to show within the yellow line the primary residential existing land uses, more commonly known as the Whittier neighborhood. And then there's one more dashed line that's the official boundary of the Whittier neighborhood, which goes down to 10th Street and over to Franklin Avenue, and then kind of meanders up along Weber. So the red star is the proposed location for the conditional use permit that we're considering tonight. And as you can see, it's on the very southwest edge of the Whittier neighborhood, up against the eastern edge of what we call the downtown area. In addition to the map, as I said, one of the requirements that we put together in the ordinance is a security management plan. The applicant provided that for the Planning Commission, They've made some updates to it, revisions, and I would expect that they would like to go through that with you tonight. But I'll just say that the executive summary that you have in front of you talks about the population to be served, the ministries and services to be offered, the operating and security protocol, and then more information as far as the applicant itself. After the Planning Commission made their recommendation, and we knew that there was going to be an appeal, we actually sat down with the Catholic Diocese and their representatives, as well as Sioux Falls Police Department and some of the agencies, to go through this one more time, just to see if there's any additional information that we could provide for you as a city council, as well as the people that are here tonight. And again, I'll let the applicant go through that with you. Another piece of information that we thought was important is that we have a letter from the Salvation Army. That letter is dated February 28th, and basically it says that with approval of this new facility, the Salvation Army will no longer operate their warming site. And I'll just highlight, as this endeavor becomes a reality, the Salvation Army of Sioux Falls will not continue to operate their current warming site. And actually, the city provides funding for that, so there's another control that we would have for this upcoming winter season. Another piece of information since the Planning Commission meeting is lighting. I think the number one concern that the neighbor is going to tell you about is security and safety. That's their number one concern. And a lot of that can be addressed by lighting. So we've been working with not only the Sioux Falls Police, but also Public Works, the Light Division, to canvass the neighborhood and look at where we can improve lighting. And so in the neighborhood itself, we've done repair of lights, and we've also identified north of 8th Street where we're going to be adding additional lighting. Along with that, the arrow shows you 8th Street. That's in our CIP this year, from essentially Franklin Avenue going east just past Cliff Avenue. As part of that reconstruction of 8th Street, we're going to be updating the lighting like we do with other street projects. So there's going to be a lot of changes in this area in terms of lighting. Along with that, as we've met with the applicant, they're also going to be developing a lighting plan for the actual building, the exterior of the building and the parking lot. And we're working with the police department to help them put together that plan. And then finally, we have a bus route map. I think we have that up there. It's important to know that Route 4, which is one of our fixed routes, serves this area. And if Diane can kind of help highlight, up there it goes around between 8th and 10th Street. And so this is along our major bus route that serves it during our normal hours, Route 4. The appeal that we received, again, if I could summarize what the neighborhood has told us, is that they're concerned about the concentration of uses in this area. They're concerned about how the people that are going to be using this facility are going to be monitored during the hours of operation, outside the building, inside the building. Again, it gets back to that safety issue. So that's why we've worked very hard through the neighborhood meetings, through the Planning Commission, and subsequent to that to help explain as much detail as they can how we can best address those neighborhood concerns. And that's why I think it's important when we develop this ordinance with the neighborhood, again, if a conditional use permit is approved, they have to come back within 90 days, and they have to come back within 1 year. And if there's issues, if there's problems, if there's concerns, that's an opportunity for us to address those. So that's my staff report, and I'll be available if you have any questions.
Michael, thank you. Folks, this is an opportunity for you to actually engage the council as well. If you have any comments, that's just fine. For or against this, you're more than welcome to come forward. Again, we just ask you to state your name, please, and keep your comments to 5 minutes or less. And then what we'd also ask is that if your comment is unique, that's great. If it follows the same pattern, we would ask you to maybe find just additional topics about this one to talk about. But again, we're glad you're here. Please come forward and say anything you'd like. Welcome. Welcome, sir. And we can help you with that. Mike, would you help? Welcome.
Excuse me?
No, sir, if you could just state your name, and Mike will help you with that.
Thank you. My name is Rickollars. I own a business at 620 East 8th Street. I've been there for 22 years. I went to school at Eugene Field. I also went to school at Whittier. I've been in this area for a long time. I've been working at that location for the last, like I said, 22 years. This is a little green dot right down here.
Okay.
Since 1992, I've watched millions of dollars in Sioux Falls property go out of the tax base and into missions of one type or another. The Park Grant building is now the Union Gospel Missions Men's Center. The EMSCO Chemical building is now the Volunteers of America. The Dakota Auto Parts building is the Union Gospel Mission headquarters. The Stout Plumbing and Heating building, which is directly behind me, is now the Furniture Mission. The banquet used to be I believe it's the Picote Equipment building. And now the old Campbell Supply building, or the warehouse, is soon to be the Bishop Dudley Hospitality Center. It appears to me as though there's been a tremendous amount of focus to put all of that type of property in a very small area. And it looks like a very small area when you mark it this way. When I bought my building in 1992, I thought maybe in 20 or 25 years it would be worth something and I'd be able to sell it and retire and live life large. I don't believe that any longer. I think that the value of the property in that neighborhood has diminished because of the saturation of missions in that area. I don't have a problem with the mission ideals, but I do like to see a little bit of policing in that type of a atmosphere. The neighborhood that I work out of is also included in the downtown Sioux Falls district. I pay a higher tax rate because of that. That's property taxes. And that money is used to support the downtown Sioux Falls area. I'm not really certain that our neighborhood is seeing the benefit of that. I know you've mentioned quite a few times that the East Bank is really developing, but I think the East Bank stops at Weber because it doesn't seem to go any further, and that's when the missions start. I have picked up, over the last 22 years, all different kinds of bottles and cans, and I mean, this is stuff that's dropped on the sidewalk. These aren't thrown out the windows by cars that are passing by. These are street people who are dropping their garbage in our neighborhood. And I know the Whittier neighborhood is suffering the same problem all over. This all walk-by traffic. I believe that the neighborhood deserves some protection. And I'm talking about protection from panhandlers, protection from littering, protection from loitering, and all other types of issues that are associated with these missions. I would like to see some old-fashioned street cops walking the beat in that neighborhood. I think that that's the best way to police the issues. The reason I say that is I watch police cars drive by all the time. I watch motorcycle policemen drive by all the time. I watch bicycle policemen ride by all the time. The street people don't pay any attention to them because they know they're here now and they're gone 5 seconds later. So I'd like to see the city council do the right thing. I have no problem with the Bishop Dudley Hospitality Center as long as it's policed correctly. And I think that's something that we'd all like to see, whether it was in my neighborhood or whether it's in your neighborhood. Thank you.
Rick, thank you very much. Would anybody else want to engage the council? Folks, if you could just get in line, that'd be great. We know that there's a number of folks here who want to do that. And just get right behind this gentleman. We'd appreciate that. Again, welcome, sir.
Hey, how are you?
Good.
I'm Christopher Boyd, and I live on North French Avenue. When I first bought my home on North French Avenue, or came into the Whittier neighborhood, we were told, Whittier neighborhood, we want to develop the Whittier neighborhood. We want to see more people come into the Whittier neighborhood. I'm part of the Whittier Neighborhood Council, and we done seen the VOA come in there and start their program of the furniture mission. We done seen them start their program of re-entry into the neighborhood, where we got inmates hanging out pretty much down there off of Franklin. Ex-cons coming in there to report to certain people about certain things. And for us as a community, property taxes or our homes, my concern is, are our homes going to diminish? And like that gentleman said, there's garbage being thrown. I could take a trash can and go pretty much around the neighborhood and pick up other people's trash. I have out in front of my house bushes, and I pull stuff out of those bushes. More so having it policed, my concern is about my property value diminishing. Thank you.
Christopher, thank you.
I'm Gigi Ryder, and I'm speaking as a resident. I've lived in the neighborhood for 20 years, and it means a lot to me. I grew up in Sioux Falls, and a lot of the points that the other people are making, I agree with. One thing that I would like to talk about is the taxes and how our property values. It's not the most desirable neighborhood that people want to move into. And I have some statistics that I could probably put underneath your little camera here. Some of them are foreclosures and the vacant properties that we have. I've been working with the city on getting this information. And my question to you guys is, what are we going to do as a city to entice people to move to our neighborhood with the kind of reputation that it has? If we let the vacant houses stay vacant, foreclosures one after the other, we're going to have a problem on our hands. And it's not just going to be our neighborhood, it's going to be the city of Sioux Falls. And I really wish that the city could step up and try to figure out some kind of housing, low-income housing. There's a lot of houses in our neighborhood that are dilapidated, that people can't afford to move. They don't want to leave their residence. And what options do we have for them? I'm sure some of you know, some of the businesses down on 8th Street, with the activity of the homeless and the people that are wandering at night, it's not considered a safe part of the city. I have friends from out of state that will not come and go to old schools because of where it's located, because they heard it's a bad part of the city. That part needs to really be lit up like daylight. All the way up to 8th Street, I think we should have a lot of lighting to where it's just like daylight. I think if we have some places where it's not dark, they won't have a place to hang out. We have this issue at the place that I work. We have lights broken out, people going behind the Verizon tower fences. I think we just need to come up with some solutions that will help that. In regards to the safety in the neighborhood, I think it would be a good idea if we could get our police department to do heavier saturation during the time when kids are going to school, when they're being released from school, in the summertime, when the pool opens, when kids are going home. I don't think necessarily has to be all the time, but I think during that time of the day that the parents would feel safer if that was one of the options that the city did. Just a suggestion. When it comes to the city finding money to make our neighborhood grow, I think the people in our neighborhood deserve a tax break. We are the ones that are taking on everything that no other neighborhood is doing. And I think that they should get a tax break and the rest of Sioux Falls should pitch in to try to help us maintain that neighborhood. Just an idea. And I'm sure it'd be your neighborhood too, Mike. Okay. The open door policy. I would be willing to work with Bishop's Dudley Center, and in working with them, I'd like to let them know that Eastside Lutheran Church does offer meetings for people that are having problems, and I know everybody has problems to where that causes the addiction. And one other thing, if the city of Sioux Falls could offer the businesses in the neighborhood a sign that says no panhandling or loiter allowed, 911 will be called. If they know we mean business, hopefully we get the message across. That's all I have to say.
Gigi, thank you very much.
Yep.
Welcome.
I'm Marion Reefer, and I think our first concern is the children. Now, these kids are going to be walking either in front or in back of this facility to go swimming all summer. How are we going to protect them? And the first one that gets hurt, I'm holding you all responsible. And I'm not a parent anymore, I'm a grandparent.
Thank you very much, Mary. Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Amanda Gaudet, and I live in the Whittier neighborhood. Actually, my husband and I just purchased a home there 2.5 years ago. And when we were looking to buy the house at that time, our realtor said to us, "Are you really sure you want to buy a house in that neighborhood? It's not a good neighborhood to live in, and it's not a good neighborhood to raise kids in." And granted, I don't have kids yet, but someday I will. And I guess my two main concerns are, this facility is not going to be offering any new services that aren't already in the neighborhood. I used to work at the Union Gospel Mission a million years ago, and I can tell you that everything that the Dudley House is wanting to put into play is already available. And it bothers me that I can literally stand in the parking lot of the Bishop Dudley House and see the mission. I mean, there's so many opportunities that are already in our neighborhood. It just seems redundant to put more there. And I guess my second concern is my husband and I can't sit on our front porch and have dinner without having people come up and beg us for money. I came home after working a 10-hour day, and I was shoveling my driveway because it had snowed, and I had people coming up and begging me for money. We can't even, we're already having these problems with the facilities that we already have there. Bringing in another facility is just going to aggravate the problem. It's going to make it that much worse. And so for that, I kind of feel like we need to consider putting it somewhere else. There's a lot of homelessness, and I understand that, and there's people who need help. And I'm not against offering people help, but it doesn't always all have to be in this one area. It could be somewhere else, but then on the flip side, the people, if you're going to put it in the west side of town, then the west side people are going to be standing here telling you guys to put it somewhere else too. But I think where we have a right to say that is we already have that list of things in our neighborhood that aren't somewhere else.
Amanda, thank you very much. Thank you. Welcome, sir.
Sorry, I'm a general contractor. I carry a pencil up here. I haven't dropped one in a long time. But I am a resident of Whittier Residents Association in the neighborhood.
Sir, could you just give us your name, please?
My name's Tony Schmidt.
Thank you, Tony.
And I'm from the Whittier neighborhood. Been there for 20-some years. My first comment is, I think we've had enough, but that's just a real easy comment. So I wrote a couple notes. The gentleman that talked about shaped places. Honestly, I'm overbuilt for the neighborhood already. I will never get what I put into my property because of the so-called hood that we live in. And some of us affectionately call it the hood. And I don't mean that in a derogatory way, because I'll tell you what, I have some great neighbors and we get along great. But if the gentleman that's talking about shaped places is talking about investing in these old neighborhoods, there's no reason for me to do that anymore. I'm already bought an extra piece of property next door to me. I'm overbuilt for the neighborhood. I'm taxed higher than anybody else in the neighborhood. And it's like, and then one more thing, and we talk about what happened in 2005, what was written up by a group of people in 2005. You know what? None of the rest of you are making the same money you made in 2005. Maybe what was set in 2005 is not necessarily the way it needs to be. And all of a sudden we're talking about, well, this is the way they set it up in 2005. Well, I'll tell you what, I don't think Mike Cooper or anybody else on this council is getting paid the same amount of money they did in 2005. Neither am I. And so I think that's something. I also had a time to be back in some bigger cities back in Saginaw, Michigan, Denver, Colorado, and things like that, where they put up lights. You know what they called them in those big cities? They called them crime lights. You know what they did? They moved the crime right beyond the lights. You can put up all the lights you want. It's not going to change. When people want to do bad things, they're going to do bad things. Don't matter. You can put up all the lights you want. The lights that you're putting on A Street, that was already done before this ever came about anyways. So let's not talk about what we're doing on A Street. A Street was already a done deal a couple of years ago. It's just we were waiting for our turn. That's one thing. How many people on the council live in the Whittier neighborhood? Am I right? Is there one? I think there's one member of the council that lives in the Whittier neighborhood. Am I right? You have at large, I understand that, but there's one person in this council that lives in the Whittier neighborhood. I know who that person is. And I think that sometimes you guys forget that you have a vested interest in what you have, and you forget about right here. And, there was another comment that was made, and I'm writing notes as I'm going, so I'm kind of ad-libbing here a little bit, but they said that the Salvation Army would be willing to, drop their program. I didn't ask for the Salvation Army to do their program. Didn't ask for it, could care less. And so to make it like the Salvation Army is going to drop theirs, so we take this one, anybody cared when Salvation Army did it to begin with. And so we're sitting back here, and you guys are just, it's rhetoric, it's all we got. I don't know that any one of you have ever sat back and go, wow, I'm looking at the site plan or whatever, and they have the men's outdoor area and the women's outdoor area. Guess what? I've seen that. Not there. On my side yard, my back door, my back step. I've seen the outdoor area. They don't care. They don't care about me. If they were in your neighborhood, they wouldn't care about you either. The problem is I'm starting to wonder if anybody gives a damn about us. That's the problem. We just get one more. Well, let's see. We can have one more. I'll tell you what, you can have one more until you have a heart attack, and then it's over. And we are going to have urban blight in this part of Sioux Falls if you don't stop what you're doing. Urban blight is a problem nationwide, and they've had it in Detroit, they've had it in Chicago, they've had it in Denver. And what are they doing in Detroit? Anybody know? They're tearing down neighborhoods, complete neighborhoods, because they're so bad. This is what starts it. I don't think the Catholic Diocese needs this anymore. But thank you for your time.
Good job, Tony. Thank you. Welcome.
Name's Mark Weber. I don't live in the Whittier neighborhood, but I certainly work there. I have some comments both on neighborhood lighting and mortgage foreclosures. The proposed public lighting in the Whittier neighborhood is an excellent idea. It has already been accomplished. As I attend neighborhood meetings in my own neighborhood of All Saints, Pettigrew Heights, and Whittier. Pettigrew Heights did this last year with public lighting. I think there was something between 55 and 60 public light, either improvements or new installations. There is definitely a relationship that lighting does deter crime. To imply that the homeless are all criminals is totally unacceptable and should not even be part of this discussion. In the All Saints neighborhood last year, we started an initiative of motion detectors on private homes with our neighborhood grant program. This is also probably going to be extended to the Whittier neighborhood. At least I'm hopeful of that. That would also be good both in alleys and when a garage empties on a public street. Some of you know I've been involved with research of mortgage foreclosures for several years. The statistic that the city of Sioux Falls has for 2013 for the Whittier neighborhood is underestimated. It does not have the Rodney Fluth foreclosures from November. I've already brought that to the city planning department's attention. That number probably should be closer to 35, not 26. And I really object to the idea that that a foreclosed, there really is no relationship between the price that a foreclosed home, when it eventually sells, the assessed valuation. I have looked at this over the years, and that I think the system is set up this way unless the property owner specifically asks for the assessed valuation to change. The assessed valuation stays the same, even though the economist in me says it should be closer to the market price of the foreclosed home. Most foreclosed homes, in all those statistics that are up there, they do eventually sell. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Welcome.
Hi, my name is Shelly Sorensen. I live in the Whittier neighborhood. The one thing that I would like to first and foremost say is that in the neighborhood, we're not opposed to helping people. We do know that there are families out there that do need the help, and that's wonderful that they would be there for that. We're not heartless individuals, we're fed up individuals. Just so you know some of the happenings that go on in our neighborhood, a friend of mine has had actually a few things very bad happen to her. She had somebody defecate in her yard. Just the other day, she was trapped in her garage. She could not get out. The person was trying to get under the door. My concern is that there are a lot of, and I don't even know how to say it, to be honest with you. There's a lot of alcoholic individuals out there, and those are the ones that we are the most afraid of right now. And my issue is, look at how many bars are in that area. I mean, they're already panhandling anyways, but now we're going to put them in an area where they can just walk. I mean, there's so much potential for just uprooted riot. I mean, we are so fed up. I can't go outside with my dogs without being approached. And guess what? I have a light on my back porch. A light does not stop somebody from coming up and talking to me and harassing me. My daughter will not go outside by herself. It's ridiculous. She's a teenager. She shouldn't be afraid to go outside in her yard with our animals. There's 3 parks in our area. Nobody wants to go there. None of our kids will go there. I know that this is a problem that we already have, and I know that's what the opposing side says, is they're already here. I understand that, but what's this building going to do? It's not going to change anything. They're still here. They're not going anywhere. You're just giving them another building to go to. That's all it is. Again, we're not heartless. We're fed up. That's it.
Shelly, thank you very much. Well, folks, thank you very much. Great conversation. Sir? Folks, is there anybody else after this gentleman? Just please, I thank you. Just stand up so that we know. Please come forward. Welcome.
Mr. Huther, members of the council, it's a privilege to be in front of you. My name is Matt Althoff. I serve as chancellor for the Diocese of Sioux Falls, and of course it's the diocese who's taken out this application. And grateful for the opportunity to share a little bit more of the insights that we've gathered from the neighborhood meetings, those conversations that we've held both in a public setting as well as an individual knocking on neighbors' doors, knocking on businesses in particular, going to visit them. I'd like to first of all point out, and it's already been stated by the economist here, these are people, and they have dignity, and they deserve an opportunity because we're called to help them. And I know sometimes that makes it difficult. It's a sacrifice of all of us, but at the end of the day, I think it's really important that we keep that in mind. Who are those people? We find in the service centers or the ministry sites that we do have in our community, sometimes they're not chronic criminals. In fact, more often than not, they're not. Sometimes they're mothers with children. There's nowhere else to go, and it's a really acute situation. Sometimes they're recently widowed, and they're on fixed income, and they have, for instance, disability that precludes them from earning a wage that can keep them away from having to rely on other services that are provided in our community. We know that because the Diocese of Sioux Falls is very proud to be a primary sponsor for a lot of these service agencies in our community. First and foremost, the Good Shepherd Center has been invoked, offers daytime programming, a place for individuals to seek recluse from the elements, the weather, be productive with their time, receive some needed assistance, whether it be through Alcohol Anonymous, deal with their addiction issues, deal with their mental health issues. Diocese is a prime sponsor with the St. Francis House. St. Francis House obviously is another beautiful facility with a great track record of holding individuals accountable and doing all that they can to give them a help up, not a handout. And in addition to that, Bishop Dudley, the namesake of this facility, is also instrumental in starting the banquet. The banquet, of course, offers food, very much an essential to instilling in them a sense of dignity. They have worth. They're being fed. The issue is that all three of those facilities, there's still gaps. And there are other facilities in our community. The Salvation Army has done a commendable job of trying to provide or fit an acute need. There are certainly others, Union Gospel Mission. There are still gaps. And this was brought to the bishop's attention as a result of a very significant study that first of all showed that there are many homeless in our community, and they're not all located in the Whittier neighborhood. In fact, sometimes mothers with no place else to go end up in a big box store, staying in the car with nowhere else to hide, nowhere else to go because they can't put themselves and their children separated at a facility. One of the visions of the Bishop Dudley Hospitality House is that they would be able to do just that. There would be a room segregated for mothers and children or fathers and children so that a 12-year-old doesn't have to spend the night with 22 and 25 and 50 and 70-year-old men who might have alcohol addictions, who might have mental illness, who might have a tendency to harm because they themselves have been so harmed throughout the duration of their life. I think that's natural, our response. I think we're called to be loving to those individuals. They're going to continue to harm. They're going to continue to do things to neighbors if we, in fact, treat them with hate. We treat them as if they're less than a human being. If we do show them love, that's where the help up comes from. Questions have been raised. A lot of this we've heard at the planning, the obligatory meeting. It was a very productive meeting from the diocesan standpoint. I know those in attendance felt like we weren't heard. The reality is they were heard. And these concerns that we're hearing tonight were very similar to those concerns offered on the 20th of February, as well as in private conversations. I think I'd ask the council to be mindful of the fact that we're looking at a conditional use permit for a facility that would offer an acute need, a resource to address acute need. There's many more things that this facility, we hope and pray, should it come to fruition, this vision, would be able to be served. Those gaps that we've talked about, reality is some of these service providers do have limited times that they're available, limited times that they're offering services. And so one of the visions of this facility that it would be offering services round the clock, 24/7, particularly when it's really inclement weather. You may be aware that it's snowing out. You probably also saw that the Salvation Army, because of their constraints and such, have decided that they can no longer continue to provide that housing as of on a night like tonight. We think that's unfortunate. I know we talk about wanting to stay in a neighborhood. I wouldn't want to stay outside if I were facing those situations on a night like tonight with the snowfall. Am I exceeding my 5 minutes? Okay. I'm available for questions. If there are others from the council, I deeply appreciate your consideration of the petition.
Mr. Altoff, thank you very much. Welcome.
Josh Hager from Franklin Food Market on North Cliff, across from the Salvation Army. Mainly, it's not so much that it should be there, it shouldn't be there. The concern that we have is more how it's being done. Because if we follow the same blueprint that we had with the Salvation Army, there's not any of the conditions that were put on them that are followed. I know it's a warming site, but yet there's cots everywhere and they're sleeping there every night. It's a shelter because there is no enforcement there, which is, there is a facility, there's a need for the facilities, and that's very obvious. I know last night I watched 75 people wander up and down Cliff Avenue around a 4-block area because it was nice weather, and there's, why go stay in a little building when you can wander around in nice weather? And I know the concern of a lot of the neighbors is that when we went to the meeting with Matt before, the neighborhood raised concern after concern and had very logical, reasonable questions, and there wasn't one answer to one of those questions. And today, we're still sitting here with no actual substance. There is not a plan, there's an idea. I know when we had looked through this bullet point, there's about 10 vague bullet points that I could tell you I was doing any project and make every one of those 10 vague bullet points fit that project also. And it's more a concern that, and I don't mean this disrespectfully to the council, but you guys sort of dropped the ball with the way the Salvation Army has been done. Because again, there is no enforcement, there's no security, it's a very dangerous situation that's over there, and I really don't think most people realize how bad that's gotten over there. And so, more as the neighborhood, we're just looking at it saying, if this is going to be done, let's do it right this time. And nothing that we've seen indicates that we're taking any path other than the same path that we took with the Salvation Army. So I guess from our viewpoint, it's not so much don't do this, it's let's figure out a way to do this properly. Because like this gentleman said before, if you put a lot of lighting, and we've seen this exact same thing, we light up our area, the Salvation Army lights up their area, but if you go to the alley with no lights, beer bottles like everywhere, I mean it's a mess. And it's all you're doing is pushing things farther and farther beyond the lighting. And so I guess I was hoping, I came here with an open mind expecting Matt to give us a list of actual substantive plan. And again, we have no plan. We simply have an idea. And like I said, I see this every single night. I close at the business 5 nights a week, and I see night after night, there is a very real need for these type of facilities. It's not as though they're just doing it to do it, but when you do it with this sort of a lack of plan, you're creating just a dangerous situation for people that are paying taxes in the neighborhood, that are living in the neighborhood. And it's really is just completely unfair to them not to at least show them the respect to do this properly. And that's not just you, that's in large part the diocese. I mean, there's just simply no plan. And it seems just very irresponsible to move forward with such a giant project if all you're going to do is create the Salvation Army 3 times bigger. I just don't really see where the plan is. And I would hope that we could at least just kind of delay the whole project and force them to put something of substance together, because there is the need for this. I mean, you can open any phone book in America and point out any random business, and you pick that business, and they're going to say, don't put it next to me. I mean, there's not one business in America that wants this next to them. There's not one resident in America that wants this next to them. But that doesn't mean there's not a need for these facilities. But allowing these facilities to run in just a dangerous manner is unacceptable. And so I just would ask that you guys do something about that to do it right this time. Thank you.
Josh, thank you. Councilor Brown, welcome.
Mr. Mayor, councilors, it's good to be in front of you. Thank you for taking this issue on. This is a giant plan, a very giant plan, and it's not new. You all know that. Maybe not everyone in the audience knows that, but this is nothing new. This has been discussed for 10 years, and it is a giant plan. You know, I remember 10 years ago when I sat in your seats, a third of our elementary children were on free and reduced lunch. Today, that's half of our children. We're not winning the war on poverty in this community. This isn't a silver bullet, but it will help. And, you know, the Catholic Church, the easy thing to do would have been sit back and not take this on. But the diocese in Sioux Falls throughout history has stepped forward when they've seen a need, and they need to be congratulated for seeing this need and taking this on. No other, I'm not Catholic, but no other faith in this community has stepped forward in poverty situations more than the Catholic diocese. So to make them the evil here, that's just not fair. And Bishop Dudley, I had the privilege of knowing him. Jerry, he'd be very, very proud of this giant project. Thank you.
Councilor Brown, thank you. Folks, Folks, we are nearing over an hour of testimony, and it has been really good. If I didn't sense that we were having some repetition, I would probably encourage us, let's continue. After these two folks are done, I would ask that we engage the council. I know that they've been engaged in this way before this meeting. They will take your comments to heart before they make a decision. But what I would ask is that maybe at some point in time we let the council then begin their deliberations, their due diligence, at least tonight's meeting. But we'll have these two individuals speak if that's okay. And if it's not, that's okay too. Stand up, come on up. Just a recommendation I have. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, councilors. My name is Stacy Teason. I'm the coordinator for the Homeless Advisory Board. Thank you, Councilor Brown, for speaking up. The Homeless Advisory Board has been around for about 8 years. The Homeless Advisory Board was originally put together as part of the 10-year plan to end homelessness. So when Vernon just mentioned that 10-year plan, that's exactly what he's referencing. There's 20 pieces to that 10-year plan that we have looked at and worked towards completing over the last 2005, so the last 7, 8, 9 years now, and some of those pieces are a bit challenging. This one has taken a long time to come to fruition. It's taken someone who really has the ability and the drive and the motivation, and that is the diocese. We've done all kinds of research. I got best practices from here to there that we can talk about, and some of that stuff will come forward as the purchase, the conditional use permit, comes to fruition if it does. So I just wanted to say from the standpoint of what I do every day, the Homeless Advisory Board is in support of the conditional use permit. They submitted a letter on behalf of it. And this is part of the 10-year plan. It's called the Common Access Protocol. That is what it's listed as on page 8 if you would ever reference that document. So I just wanted to say that we are absolutely thrilled that the diocese is willing to take this project on, that they recognize that there's a need in the community, that it isn't going away, and that we have to figure out how to work together as a community, how we can collaborate, how we can do best practices, how we can work with the neighborhood in addressing these concerns, realizing that they are all legitimate issues that come from issues that people have, that they suffer from, alcoholism, substance abuse, whatever it might be. But again, we recognize that there's families and there's people who have fallen on hard times that really just need that hand up. And that is really what we're looking for, trying to be able to do. So just really wanted to say as this moves forward, if it does, that we're really looking forward to having group discussions and neighborhood input and involvement from the community as a whole, because we can't solve it by ourselves. Thank you.
Thanks, Stacey. Welcome.
Hi, my name is Glenda Hager, and I just wanted to clarify one thing. This isn't exactly a new facility. If I'm not mistaken, it is Good Shepherd being moved out of downtown, right? downtown's moving Good Shepherd, right? Into the Whittier neighborhood. Okay, I just wanted to clarify that because it seems like nobody wants to mention that we're moving it out of downtown into a neighborhood. So I just wanted to clarify that. Nobody wants to ever bring that part of this equation up. Thank you.
Glenda, thank you very much. Welcome.
My name is Cynthia Rather, and I live in this neighborhood. And I would just like to invite every single one of you to just take one evening, a couple hours, and drive through here and look at this community before you make this judgment. Because it's obvious that you guys don't live in this area, and you need to know what you're voting on. This place was pushed onto us because they said that they needed to get them closer to the banquet to feed them. You could ask some of the people in this area what kind of bags they pick up and the garbage that they pick up. The banquet doesn't let them in if they're drunk. They give them a sack lunch out the door. And there's a couple businesses, I'm not going to mention their name, but that's what's in their flower pots, and it's turned into a garbage can. So I think it's kind of moot point to move them closer to this area. It's not going to really help. And it is true, this area is fed up with this situation, extremely fed up. And all the kids that are trying to get to this park, there's only 2 crosswalks to get safely to the pool. And you're going to make them walk very close to the vicinity of this place, very close. And this place does not have to list sex offenders. Now, I want you to think about that, because what happens if it was your grandchild or your child?
Cynthia, thank you very much. Welcome. And folks, after this speaker, I am going to go to the council at this point. Mr. Shenga, welcome.
I wasn't going to come down here tonight, but I live in the Whittier neighborhood.
Mr. Stanga, could you just introduce yourself to the
Tim
people?
Stanga.
Thank you.
I live in the Whittier neighborhood too. I listen to a lot of this on TV, and well, I react the same way, is because our property taxes, we always bring in different things to the neighborhood, but yet our property taxes keep going up. Trying to sell a house with some of these facilities, it's sort of hard to do that because you do have people walking around. I'm almost thinking that it was in the city's 10-year plan to be able to get rid of all the people that are walking downtown. And it's not a good thing when you bring people in to look at downtown and you got people walking around half drunk, acting, the way they shouldn't be. I'm just curious on if we could open up a facility that doesn't enable people to be homeless, but tries to help people get off from being homeless. If they're going to bring this kind of facility, and I'd like to see them where they educate people, get their haircuts. I'm not very good at that half of the time. Clean them up, get them some clothes, show them how to do interviews, show them how to rehabilitate them into the community. So that way, these people are gonna, how do you want to say it, mesh in to this neighborhood. You never know, you might even get some people that go to this that might even buy a house in Whittier Heights. Just because we're going to educate people to be able to be part of the community, not the problem. We always look at the problems, but we got to look at trying to bring people out and try to help them, give them a foot up. And I think even the neighborhood would probably even say if they ran this facility like this to help people get back on their feet, be able to get a job, be able to either rent an apartment or buy a house, that'd be the best thing that ever could happen. But I really don't think that this is the way they want to run this facility. The way it sounds is they just want to run it as another place to, well, let's see, we can push them all in one neighborhood, we can do whatever we want to do, and we're not helping anybody.
If we're going to help people, let's help people. Let's get them on their feet. Let's get them out to show this neighborhood that we want to be part of your neighborhood. And it's got to be the people that do it too. I'm hoping that the bishop and everybody will sit down with the neighborhood after this meeting and to be able to work with us as a community to be able to come up with the best solutions. It doesn't have to go through the city council to be able to do that. It just takes people to sit down and talk it over. And I'm hoping that that can happen. I appreciate it.
Mr. Singer, thank you. Well, Council, we've had some really good discussion, great dialogue, great comments. Councilor Buck.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I might just follow Mr. Stanga's comments with a question for someone in the audience who did not testify. Could I ask for Maria Krell from the Good Shepherd Center to explain what the Good Shepherd Center is? If you could give us your 3-minute pitch. If I came there as someone in need, I need to find a job, I need to interview for a job, I need a haircut, and my clothes are dirty, what am I going to get at the Good Shepherd Center?
Thank you, Councilor Urbanbach. I am Maria Krell. I'm the director of the Good Shepherd Center. We are a daytime homeless shelter. We provide basic services that many of you and I have at our houses that we take advantage of. We have shower facilities. So anybody in need of a shower can come in and we'll give them the shower supplies, the towels, the wash rags, the soap, the shampoo, razor, shaving cream, toothpaste, toothbrush. We have laundry facilities. Everybody can do 3 loads of laundry a week for free. I know 3 loads of laundry doesn't go a long way for a family, but that's all we can provide because we have so many people that are in need of that free laundry facility. So they can do their laundry there. They can come in Tuesday through Friday for a noon meal. Many of the people we serve aren't just homeless people. We see a lot of the working poor as well as those who are in fixed income and need to come to a place to help supplement the money that they receive. So it's getting the haircuts. We have Black Hills Beauty College actually coming in the 24th to do haircuts. We have Stewart's on the opposite months. We provide the services where they can come to us. We're not certified resume writers or certified to be able to do job interviews, but we do mock interviews with them, helping them through different situations that they might be going through. For some of them, it's applying for disability or applying for food stamps, Medicaid. It's helping them with what questions do you need to ask to be able to receive those services that you need. For some of the clients, it's talking to somebody, just airing out their problems of, okay, this is my frustration, and we're there to help them. It's not necessarily we do serve people that have been drinking. And I realize that's what a lot of people think that everybody that's homeless is. And that's not what all of the homeless is. It's people with mental disabilities. It's people who had to miss work because their child got sick and they didn't have vacation or sick time to use. It's you or I because we've missed one paycheck. Other questions? That's it in a nutshell. Thank you. Thank you.
Council, any other questions, comments, motions? Councilor Anderson Jr.
Gentleman from the Catholic Diocese.
Sure. Mr. Altoff, would you come forward, please?
Thank you, sir. Some of the questions I'd like to ask are just directly from a letter of questions from Krista Bartman, who's Whittier Association Vice President. And some of the things I think Mike has already stated, but I'd like to hear them from you. Number one was allowing drug and alcohol use on the property. What's the shelter's rules on alcohol use and people who are under the influence?
Very legitimate question. I thank you for that, Council. If I may, just want to give a little bit of context. Bear in mind that the diocese does not own this asset. We have under a condition or a purchase agreement, provided that the conditional use permit would be granted, that we would acquire it as a church and then begin to develop the property. So I say that because I can't give you specifics of a 0.08 versus a 0.09 kind of thing. There are no such policies. There's real principles guiding that are based upon a long track record of history of similar things, Good Shepherd Center being one of them. The fact of the matter is that if we are going to love those that are hurting and causing harm to others, they happen to be under the influence, they need to be welcomed and they need to be loved. So the expectation would be that those that are inebriated, those that are suffering from an addiction and impaired as a result of that would be welcomed to the facility, provided they were willing to abide by rules of the house, basically conduct-related rules. You're not going to be unruly, you're going to be respectful of others, you're not going to be a problem or, a disruption to other person's belongings or well-being. The moment that you choose to make a decision that says, I'm no longer respectful of those rules, I'm not going to be helpful to those individuals around me that are also trying to find the comfort that this facility might provide them, they become unruly with a trained staff, a staff that's experienced and knows how to deal with individuals that are under the influence of drugs or alcohol or suffering from mental illness. If that staff deems them to be no longer fit to be served in this facility, law enforcement will be involved. It will be called, and they will be turned over to law enforcement for law enforcement to determine how best to basically enforce the laws that this council, the councils before it have put on the books in our ordinances.
So basically, we will not be releasing people that are having alcoholic episodes into the neighborhood, correct?
What I want to be,
what you're coming around
absolutely. This would be the ideal. Let me just say, this is not a place where persons are sentenced to. So what I think we have to be mindful of as a center or a facility like this is not going to be able to hold people to remain in the facility. They may choose to leave while they're inebriated, under the influence or things like that. But by no means are they going to be, if they get to the point where they're a problem, they're hurtful to others, they're causing harm, they're unruly, law enforcement will be involved. And I've been given assurances, if I may, so grateful for the city's police department, have been very cooperative in our development of this vision, going right from Chief Barthel, but also Officer Larson, who's spent quite a bit of time giving us great constructive criticisms of the plan and great input, but most importantly, that assurance that they intend to be a real partner in this facility.
And if I may continue, the question was a proposed hours of operations. I've heard 24/7. Is that pretty much what the vision is on that?
If I may, the struggle, one of the gaps that there is of course that particularly now in the city of Sioux Falls, when we have inclement weather, there's one warming shelter, and it operates seasonally. We know the need is there. We know the need is there for not only men, but also for women and children that need that acute homelessness. So that is what drives the expectation that this would be operated 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Now, if I may beg of you in that, there may be times for cleanings, when a neighboring facility where typically we're not going to build a big kitchen in here and replicate or, basically compete with a banquet. The idea would be that if they're going to go to have the evening meal at the banquet, I can foresee an opportunity where maybe there'd be a time, where the facility has cleaning, maintenance, that sort of stuff, where limited areas are available to guests. But let me just say, the expectation by and large would be 24/7. The other qualifier I would add is seasonal. Whether that needs to be offered in June or not, that really becomes a factor of funding in part. And so that would be another question to be revisited. But the ideal would be that during those times when the weather is so harsh that somebody's life is frankly imperiled because of the conditions, that we would be able to have that facility open at all hours.
I'm good. Thank you.
Counselor, thank you. Yes.
I have a question for you also, if I might. You mentioned that there is a potential for people under the influence of drugs and alcohol to be in the place at the same time. And then you also talk about having a facility that's going to accommodate families. I mean, be it a mother and kids or a father and kids. How are you going to separate those from, are you going to be able to identify those that might be under the influence and thus be able to separate whether there's a female under the influence of alcohol, can you separate her then from a family and the kids, a mother and her kids, same way with a father and his kids? Is that how this is going to work out? Because there would seem to be a propensity that under the influence could cause some issues. And if we're going to have kids mingling, how are you going to handle that?
Thank you for the question, Councilman. First and foremost, I want to clarify that I should amend what I've shared already with Councilman Anderson, and that is that possession and certainly consumption or imbibement of alcohol would not be tolerated. So they may meet us at the door while under the influence. I would expect that there would be a check-in process, or they would have to surrender any of the drugs or alcohol they might have in their possession. To your point, one of the reasons why this facility was so attractive to the bishop in this vision was its vast floor plan that essentially is just concrete floor right now. One of the things that you can do with that is you can build out segregated areas. And that is certainly a vision. The challenge you run into, what I've observed, I've personally spent some time at the Salvation Army facility. It's a gymnasium by day, and there's no subdivision. What you can do with an architect to create hallways, cordoned areas, secured locations where you do segregate men from women and children, or men and their children from just single adult men. Those are a lot of the visions that we have. To be very candid, those plans don't exist today. We have a wonderful architect, great input, and a great track record professional that I think is going to figure out a way to do that. That's not a mine that I can do. The bishop has been very cautious. This is a judicatory council that we're in front of. It has a unique authority invested in it and trusted to it by the citizens of Sioux Falls. We don't, as a church, want to be presumptive. We want to be respectful of that process. So I don't come before you not owning the asset, as the church not owning the asset, and certainly not with well-developed plans, because we don't want to presume that this conditional use permit would be granted. Please be assured that should the council deem it meritorious, the application the diocese has submitted, we would expect to greatly exceed those open meetings. I've said it before at the opening of our opening listening session at Our Lady Guadalupe. This facility is only viable and vibrant if the neighboring businesses are viable and vibrant. We really will depend on a network of neighbors to make referrals, to say, don't panhandle here, and you don't need to use the restroom here, but you know what, across the street, they can help you. That's the kind of referral network that makes a shelter like that successful. If we rely only on the police officers to make those referrals, I don't think we're going to see the success that we might otherwise achieve with the facility in serving the needs of the population we seek to serve.
Councilor Karski.
Thank you, Mayor. Actually, Mr. Altoff answered my question at the beginning when he commented regarding consumption and possession of alcoholic beverages on the premises, so thank you for bringing that up.
Thank you, Councilor Ayersman.
I do have, if I might, I have a question for Director Cooper. Mike? Thank you very much. Mike, if the process goes forward, what kind of being enlightened as far as what they plan on doing as far as segregation, those kinds of things, the build out on the interior of the building. What say does the city have as we go forward to be able to, as they've made promises or set expectations, let me say, they haven't made promises yet. But how do we verify or how do we protect ourselves going forward in this process?
Well, first of all, the ordinance says that there's a 90-day and the 1-year review. That's required. A conditional use can even be revoked if it really becomes an issue. But having said that, and I haven't discussed this with anybody, so I'll just throw it out tonight, that as we're hearing the diocese say, there's a lot of things that we want to do, but until the conditional use really is approved, that's when we would start to make detailed plans for the building as well as for the security management plan. The neighborhood is over here saying, well, why aren't we hearing that tonight? So one suggestion would be, because this is a conditional use, the council has the authority to put conditions on that. If you so chose to say prior to the operation, within a certain specified time, we would sit down and look at the detailed building plans and the operations plan with a representative group, and that way they would know for sure what's going to be happening prior to the opening of it. That's just a suggestion that might alleviate some of those concerns.
Okay.
And then, again, the standards are pretty well laid out in the ordinance, and then we would continue with that 90-day and one-year review. We could come back and report to the Planning Commission, report to the council, whatever you wanted to do. We'd work with the Whittier Neighborhood Association, the businesses that are in that area, whatever I think would be applicable. And I think we could have some good communication, good dialogue to monitor the process and see how it's working.
Good. Thank you, Mike.
That's a long answer to your question.
No, it helped a lot. Thank you.
Councilor Jameson.
Thank you. I'd have to agree with Mr. Cooper's recommendation. There are a lot of questions that the neighborhoods are having, and they're looking for details that just haven't even been created yet. So I think that is a great recommendation and a plan of action that we should pursue. I just offer support for that in an open fashion so all of us could maybe move in that direction.
John, could you make a motion, Councilor Jameson?
I'd rather see some more discussion if I could, just to make sure.
Councilor Buck?
I just would, I was in my notes calling it a condition as part of the conditional use permit for a pre-operations neighborhood meeting. So that would be one of our conditions, and I would support Councilor Jameson if we make that amendment.
Council, would anybody want to make a motion?
Need to make a motion to approve first, though, Mr. Mayor.
Yep.
So moved, Aguilar.
Second, Erpenbach.
Councilor Aguilar has made a motion to approve this item, seconded by Councilor Erpenbach. Is there any discussion? Councilor Erpenbach or Councilor Jameson?
Yeah, I'm not sure that I can make the amendment in the exact form, but as recommended by Mr. Cooper, I move that we put a condition on the conditional approval to require a security plan and other details to be presented at the same time. Somebody else maybe knows.
Friendly amendment, then at a neighborhood meeting.
At a neighborhood meeting.
An open neighborhood meeting.
Second, Anderson.
Councilor Jameson's made a amendment to the motion. It was seconded by Councilor Anderson Jr. Ms. Cooper, could you just simplify that for us?
Thank you.
Simplify it, Mike.
It's 30 days, 60 days.
Mike, simplify the motion.
I'm sorry. The motion to amend would be that prior to building operation, we would have another neighborhood meeting to review the building plans and the security management plan.
Exactly.
With the Whittier Neighborhood Association.
Very good. Thank you. There's been a motion. It has been. There's been an amendment. It has been seconded. Councilor Entman.
Is it appropriate to make an additional at this time?
Yeah. Because
One of the additional conditions that I would like added would be an annual report to this body. I think as we go forward.
Hang on.
I'm sorry.
Would you want to make that a friendly? Can we just? No, basically, what Councilor Entman's done is he's asked to add something to the amendment or a condition, and this condition or this amendment would be, and to have this body come forward to the council on a yearly basis. Is there a can we friendly that, or?
I would
Denise?
make it a separate condition.
Make it a separate.
And we can move that, vote on that first, and then we'd go to the other amendment. And
okay. Is that, Denise, does that sound good? Okay. There has been a second amendment to the original motion. This one is to have this body come forward to this body and give a yearly review. And that was made by Councilor Entman, seconded by Councilor Aguilar.
Pardon me, Mr. Mayor. I'm sorry. It is my understanding, and I defer to City Attorney's Office, but wouldn't they have to vote on the first amendment? And depending on how that vote turns out, then they would vote on Council Member Entman's motion.
Because this is in addition to the amendment, yeah. Yeah, I concur with that, Denise, that you do need to vote on each amendment separately.
Right.
We were going to do that.
Yep.
That's what we were going to do.
But can't
It just does the order matter?
We need to vote first, sir.
If I might, just in previous times when we've done conditional use permits, we've had a whole list of conditions and they've been one amendment.
That's what I
But we
thought.
certainly can decide as a group to amend them individually if you'd like. But Karen is right, you need to vote on them in the order the amendments were made. So Jameson first, then Entman.
Then with that in mind, let's go to the First Amendment, and then we'll vote on that. And then what I was trying to do is see if we could have it added with your permission, and then we could have 1 versus 2. That was what I was trying to do.
I would just suggest, Mr. Mayor, there may be others.
Sounds great. Oh, there may be others? Okay, great. Okay, then we do have an amendment to the motion, and that one was to, that was the Mike Cooper discussed amendment. Is there any discussion on that? Yes, Councilor Karski.
I have a question on what we're going to accomplish by doing this. I mean, it's great we're going to have a security plan, and they're going to bring it to the neighborhood association. What if they don't like it? I mean, where do we go with this? I mean, what are we actually doing by doing this is what I'm asking.
It would be to further the good neighbor policy of trying to communicate with everybody and letting them know that we are trying to address their concerns.
Okay, thank you. And then can we talk about the second one too, or do you want to wait for that one? Okay, let's wait.
Is there any other discussion on the First Amendment? A roll call vote, please.
Council members Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Entman?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Thank you. We now have an amended main motion. We have a second amendment, and that's the Entman amendment, and that is to have the body, the diocese probably in this case, come in front of the council and give a annual report on how things are going. That's in layman's terms, folks.
Mr. Mayor.
Councilor Entman.
I just think it's appropriate here. I think this is an important move on the part of all of us and a special deal with the diocese, and I really do appreciate their efforts. But I do think that we need to know how, from a security standpoint, the report that they're going to give us, how they're operating on an annual basis, are they successful in the mission that they're trying to accomplish, and how has it affected the neighborhood. It might also allow us an opportunity to ask questions following the report. So I do believe that this is good for our community to be understanding how it's affecting the neighborhood.
Yeah, Councilor Rolfing.
I would remind the councils that about 2 months ago, we decided not to have an annual report by a couple of organizations here who we gave substantial amounts of money to that have no track record. And now we are asking for an annual report for an organization that has a wonderful track record in doing what they're doing, and we have no money invested in it. I just personally think that I can trust the diocese to come up with that and to work hard to make sure that the center is done correctly, rightly, and if not, we'll hear about it from the people that are in the surrounding area. I think that's all the report that we need.
Councilor Buck.
I tend to agree with Councilor Rolfing on this. This is a faith-based organization that we're putting minimal money into. I mean, I assume that $25,000 that we put into the warming site at this point may be asked to be transferred to that. My other point on this would be that we are going to, the ordinance requires a 90-day review and a 1-year review of this project, and so we're kind of covered by that. I would encourage you to vote no on this amendment.
Yes, Councilor Karski.
A question for Mr. Cooper. Under what conditions can a conditional use permit be revoked? How or what process is there for doing that?
If they're not in compliance with the ordinance or additional conditions, then the planning department would put together a report, it would go to the planning commission and then come before the city council.
So once this is
At public hearings.
once it's granted, it can't be revoked just without cause, basically?
Without due cause, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
It's yes.
Councilor Jameson.
Mike, thank you. Mike, if you could hang on a second. So part of the question might be, I think, how do we keep score? You know, the neighborhood has concerns that they've brought up time and time again about security and safety and property values, littering, all those kinds of things. And at the end of the day, the diocese is been open for a year. They come back for their annual review or report, and the neighborhood comes along with a long list. I mean, how do you keep score of whether that it's caused an increase or a decrease in those issues? How could we set that up in the beginning so that everybody knows what the rules are, so when that year does come up, the diocese has known what they should be doing to prevent those things from happening so they don't get the score against them, and the neighborhood knows on what issues they should be and how that should be calculated.
I think that comes back to the security management plan is really the key scorecard.
Yes, scorecard.
That as we drill down and get that to be more detailed, that will be the metric that we can use to judge.
Councilor Anderson Jr.
Okay, Mike, I'm glad you brought that up because that's what I've been waiting for. You know, what I heard from this neighborhood more than once is they're under siege. It may not be the nonprofits that are putting these people under siege, but it's a certain segment that is in the neighborhood, that is, you know, mobile in the neighborhood, and that are causing problems. Council, I want you to remember a couple of years ago, a young lady came up to this podium and talked about how she couldn't take her children to Whittier Park because of the harassments that her and her children got at Whittier Park. You know, we have to take a look at the security plan of this. If we're going to talk a security plan for this neighborhood, we need to have the neighborhood meetings to discuss this security plan. It has to be more than just lighting on streets. This area also has alleys. Right now, that is a dark neighborhood. We need to take the responsibility. If we're going to allow another facility in this neighborhood, then we as a council and the city need to take the responsibility to make sure that we're going to protect that neighborhood as we move forward. And I want the neighborhood to understand this too. As we do the railroad relocation, that is going to also affect your neighborhood between 3rd Street
Council,
and 10th Street.
if I can just remind you, we're on an amendment now.
I understand that. We're talking about a security plan.
No, that's already passed, Councilor. Now we're on, that one already passed, sir. Now we're on whether we should have an annual meeting with the council, okay?
No,
so
we were talking about a security plan for the building.
Right.
Now I'm talking about a security plan for the neighborhood, not just the building.
Right.
So that is a different subject.
Right. Councilor Anderson Jr., that's why, but I have to, as the chair, as the moderator, my responsibility is to keep everything tied to the topic at hand, and right now we're on the second potential amendment, and that is whether you folks want to insist that the diocese has an annual meeting with the council. So I apologize. That's what I'd like to keep this topic to now, and then we'll go into then we'll go to the other part. Okay, Councilor? Thank you, sir. Councilor Ayersman.
Mike, I do have one more question, please. You mentioned the 90-day review and the year review. Does it provide for another annual review on an annual basis after the first 2 reviews? You know what I mean?
Beyond the 1 year, no.
It does not, beyond the 1 year. Okay.
Well, Council, we've had very good discussion on this amendment. And just so everybody's clear, what we're doing is you are voting on, not we, you are voting on whether you want to have an annual meeting between the diocese / relocated Good Shepherd Center and the City Council on a yearly basis. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Aguilar?
No.
Anderson?
Yes.
Entenmann?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
No.
Jameson?
No.
Karski,
No.
Rolfing.
No.
That has failed 2-5. We now have Councilor Urbanbach.
I just wanted to continue to address more conditions if I could, Mr. Mayor.
Please.
First, I wanted to ask Mr. Cooper if you could talk briefly to us about conversations between the diocese and the police department. We've been led to believe there were, that we have promises and all of that. What do we have specifics on what that might be? And I'm leading into what Councilor Anderson is talking about as well. What do we expect from the police department, and then what's the partnership between the diocese and the police department?
Yeah, we've met with the police prior to Planning Commission. I've been involved with meetings since the Planning Commission meeting as we continue to drill down on the specifics of the security management plan. We talked about lighting around the building. We talked about the neighborhood. And there is a very strong commitment by Sioux Falls Police to continue to work on this issue. But again, until we know whether or not the conditional use is going to go forward, you can't really get into too much detail. And that's why people are sitting back here saying, when can we see more details? So I think we're very committed as city staff, as police department, as a diocese, the Whittier Association. We have a very long history with the Whittier Neighborhood Association to continue to look at how to make this successful. So there's a very strong commitment there. But the discussions that we've been involved with so far have been primarily about security, lighting, and monitoring of people, to kind of prevent them from wandering around on their own. That's been the discussion that we've had so far.
Mm-hmm. And if I might, Mr. Mayor, Councilor Anderson, would you talk a little bit about, you're talking about a security plan for the entire neighborhood. One of the things that one of the gentlemen brought up was this idea of having cops walk the beat in the Whittier neighborhood. We're doing that downtown, especially in the summertime. Do you have other thoughts about what might be a security plan for the Whittier neighborhood?
Well, I think number one is that we have to go in there, assess the neighborhood, the area, and see what type of cleanups that need to be done. Whether it's maybe cleaning up some of the alleys by trimming some trees. I know that may not be a popular thing, but once again, we need to assess this area. The people have told us that there are major problems over there. And, here we've talked about, setting up some lights. In the Pettigrew district, I think we probably have about double of that. And we do have lights in the alleys in the Pettigrew district also. So and that was something that we worked on, and I think it has created a difference in the Pettigrew district. But I think that there needs to be a more increased police presence, and I think that that's probably one of the things they're talking about. But then also maybe having more neighborhood meetings, utilizing planning and community development to let the neighborhood know what type of programs that we have here within the city to help those neighborhoods. We have some great housing rehabilitation programs that I think would help a lot of the neighbors here. I know that I've spoken with the Whittier Association before on individuals that live in that neighborhood that we've gone to try to get them to improve their homes, and they can do it for, pretty much nothing. But that information just needs to get out, and I just think that having more meetings with the neighborhood is not something that is going to be a negative. And it's similar to like the banquet. We had a lot of meetings before we approved the banquet. And I think that just needs to happen, and the diocese has said in the beginning that they were willing to have multiple meetings with the neighborhood, so I think that just should happen.
Okay, so help me craft this amendment. Denise, would you read back to us the first amendment on the condition for the pre-operations neighborhood meeting? The condition is only to have that meeting, correct?
What I have for First Amendment was the conditional approval of security plan at an open neighborhood meeting. The wording, I will have to watch to get the exact wording.
So I wonder if council wants to put teeth into that amendment to require that that security plan really meet the needs both of the diocese and of the neighborhood before operations begin. That if that neighborhood meeting, if we come out of that neighborhood meeting with the idea that the security plan has holes in it, the holes have to be filled before they can open. Does council want to walk down that road? No, I'm getting no.
No.
I don't know. That's why I'm throwing it out there. I don't know, but I'm just, I think we need to talk, we need to be serious about the security issue. And you all know I'm a number one supporter of this project, but I also don't want the issues that these folks are living with. That's not okay with me. But it's not.
Just for some detail, in the First Amendment, and Denise didn't capture it entirely, but it was the Cooper Amendment. And in the Cooper Amendment, I'm sorry to term it that, it was specific to, it was police protection, it was safety, security, it was...
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't.
Mike...
That was his comment.
It was operations plan and it was security plan. It didn't say we could knock it down, that we could make them fix it before they open. They just said we get to show it off at a neighborhood meeting. It doesn't give us the kickback to say, you know what, it's not ready. You can't open yet.
If I could.
Yes, Council Aguilar.
You know, we do have some success over in the Whittier neighborhood, and I think that if we did a walkthrough like they did with the lights with neighbors and whatever, but also 3 years ago when we were, or almost 4 years ago now, when we were first on the council, there was a problem at Whittier Park. And the park department came together, the police department, Councilors Erpenbach, Anderson, and myself, representatives of the Whittier neighborhood. I probably have more teeth in this issue than most people realize. I am an alumnus of and grew up in the Whittier neighborhood. I have family that still lives in the neighborhood. I have seen an improvement. I drove by the other day, and the park, there were children playing. There were not people drinking. The trees have been cut. The park is usable now for little children and families. I think if we use that as a model, and we can make those security concerns taken care of. As I was listening to some of the testimony tonight, I had to reminisce, because growing up in that neighborhood, we were considered sometimes hoods. We were the East Side kids. And, whether the reputation was fair or not, I represent the Southeast District. My heart is still in the Whittier neighborhood. I have to tell you, neighbors, that I think that this facility will help take care of some of the problems you're having. It will move the movement through the neighborhoods, I think, away from it. Back in the day, we didn't call them homeless. We called them bums getting off of the tracks that were around Falls Park. Falls Park was a dump back then. We now have a beautiful park. There's a lot more that can be done, but I have to commend the diocese for taking this on, for looking at a full-service facility for those that need the help. And I think that we can put enough conditions on it that it will benefit the neighborhood and it will benefit our homeless population.
Why don't we keep it downtown then? If we keep it downtown...
Sir, I apologize. I apologize. Thank you, though. Thank you. I appreciate it.
If I come take
Sir,
a poop
sir,
on your
sir.
porch or in your yard, will you say, oh, go to the diocese? No, you won't.
You gotta settle down. Mayor, Council, if I could comment? Okay.
I'll go poop in your yard. See how you like it.
Thank you. Councilor Karski.
Thank you. Councilor Aguilar, I appreciate those comments. I thank you very much. From what I've heard, I want to address kind of where Councilor Erpenbach and Councilor Anderson were going. This neighborhood has problems, obviously, and I don't think putting this facility in this neighborhood is going to increase them. In fact, from what I've heard, it probably will alleviate them. And I think by holding a security plan for the entire neighborhood, holding the diocese responsible for that plan for the entire neighborhood is setting way too high of a standard. I think, if the diocese has a security plan for this facility, for monitoring the people that are coming and going and how to deal with that, I think that is more than adequate. And we can't have a standard for the entire neighborhood for this one building.
If I might, Mr. Mayor, just to clarify, that was not my intention, was a security plan for the entire neighborhood. I'm talking about the security plan in the original, the condition that we have placed in the amendment. The condition for the facility itself requires an operations plan and a security plan to be shown at a neighborhood meeting. That's all we've said. That's the only condition we're putting on it so far. I'm just suggesting council might want to put some teeth into that neighborhood meeting and say if that security plan for the facility doesn't fly, at that point the facility can't open until we get that security plan ironed out for council. That's all I'm saying. No amendment.
Councilor Karski.
No amendment? Okay, thank you.
Am I going to be able to speak, Mayor?
Councilor Anderson, Jr.
Sorry, I've been raising my hand.
Yes, sir, and I'm trying to get these folks taken care of
And
so
it was gonna be
so
in
we
the
can move to the next
same
topic.
vein also.
Councilor Anderson, Jr.
Yeah, I was going to say, Councilman Karski, I did not hold the diocese responsible for the neighborhood. I held the city responsible, us, right here. We're the ones that need to be responsible for what's happening over there.
Agree. Very good. We've had good discussion. We've got an amended main motion. A roll call vote, please.
Council members Aguilar,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Intamin,
Yes.
Urbanbach,
Yes.
Jameson,
Yes.
Karski,
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
That is passed 7-0. Item number 20.
New 2014 package liquor license for D&J Station Incorporated, the gas stop, to be operated at 2200 East 10th Street. Item 21. New 2013-14 retail malt beverage license, including video lottery terminals for Stanton Inc., business name to be determined, to be operated at 1213 Northcliffe Avenue. Item 22. New 2013-14 retail malt beverage license for Kathy Ellenwich Backyard Grill to be operated at 3705 Southwestern Avenue. CUP not required, full-service restaurant. Item 23. New 2013-14 retail malt beverage license for the Trifecta Inc. Coffee Rotisserie to be operated at 200 South Phillips Avenue with conditional use permit 2014-0119 being approved on February 5th, 2014. Item 24. New 2014 retail wine license for the Trifecta Inc. Coffee Rotisserie to be operated at 200 South Phillips Avenue with conditional use permit 2014-0119 being approved on February 5th, 2014. Item 25. New 2014 retail wine license for Amavov LLC, Amavov Boutique, to be operated at 4807 South Louise Avenue with the special use permit 2014-0103 being approved on February 5th, 2014. Item 26. Transfer of 2013-14 retail malt beverage license, including video lottery terminals for JPTS Inc. Mint Casino, 3601 East 10th Street to JPTS Inc. Mint Casino to be operated at 3611 East 10th Street with conditional use permit 2013-0603 being approved on July 3rd, 2013, effective April 1st, 2014, pending final inspections per building services. Item 27. Transfer of 2014 packaged liquor license for East Dakota Natural Foods Co-op, the Co-op Natural Foods, 2504 South Duluth Avenue, to East Dakota Natural Foods Co-op, the Co-op Natural Foods, to be operated at 410 West 18th Street, pending final inspections per building services. Item 28. Special one-day malt beverage and special one-day wine licenses for the History Club of Sioux Falls to be operated at the History Club of Sioux Falls, 758 South Phillips Avenue, for a special event on March 29th, 2014. Item 29. Special one-day malt beverage license for Avera McKinnon Hospital to be operated at the Avera McKinnon Fitness Center, 3400 South Southeastern Avenue, for a fun run on April 1st, 2014. Item 30, special one-day liquor licenses for Hy-Vee Inc. All Occasions by Hy-Vee to be operated at the Point is to Serve Church, 506 North Kiwanis Avenue, for weddings on April 5th, May 24th, and May 31st, 2014.
Jamie.
Good evening, Jamie Palmer with licensing. Item 21 is a request. The applicant currently holds a packaged malt license there, and they want to change it to a packaged liquor. Item 21 is a new license for a business located near Cliff and Rice Street. They previously had a retail liquor license there. This will only be a retail malt. Item 22 is a barbecue-style restaurant, and they would like to add, offer beer to their menu. Items 23 and 24 is a request so that they are able to host artist receptions at least once a month. Item 25 is a women's boutique, clothing boutique, and they would like to be able to offer complimentary wine at special events or sales events that they hold occasionally. Item 26 is a request to transfer a license. Their current location is actually in front of their new building, and at such time when the new construction is complete, they are going to need to transfer the license to that new location so that they can raise their current their current building. So I will need an amendment on that item, and I can come back to that. So item 27 is for the Co-op Natural Foods. If you remember, that business was a total loss in a fire in January, and this is a temporary location for them, and they would like to be able to sell packaged alcohol or packaged liquor at that temporary location. Items 28 and 30 are special one-day requests throughout the city. Coming back to item 26, if I can, right now it reads effective April 1st. The applicant has run into, as any construction project, it always seems like it's hard to kind of guess when items are going to be done. And so if we could make that effective upon completion of construction, that would be very helpful for them so that they don't have to lose business days, or the least amount of business days they can, I guess. So that's all I have.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilor.
I've moved to approve items 20 through 25 and items 27 through 30.
Second, Karski.
Is there any discussion, Council? Roll call vote, please.
Council members Aguilar,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Intiman,
Yes.
Urbanbach,
Yes.
Jameson,
Yes.
Karski,
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
That's passed 7-0.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilor.
I move that we approve item 26.
Second, Karski.
Approve the amendment by adding "or upon completion of the construction."
We have to do the motion first and then the amendment.
What? Am I doing this wrong again?
I think he made the motion in its entirety.
Sorry.
Would you want a
Motion
second?
to approve. Oh, I see. We need a motion to approve.
Second.
Yeah. There's a motion to approve this item. It has been seconded. Is there an amendment to the motion? Yes. To add the words.
Yes. To add a motion to amend by adding "or upon completion of construction."
Is there a second on that?
Second.
Seconded on that. Any discussion on the amendment? Roll call vote, please.
Council members Aguilar,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Intiman,
Yes.
Urbanbach,
Yes.
Jameson,
Yes.
Karski,
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
We now have an amended motion. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Council members Aguilar,
Yes.
Anderson,
Yes.
Intiman, Urbanbach,
Yes.
Jameson, Karski,
Yes.
Rolfing.
Yes.
That's passed 7-0. Item 31.
First reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the Code of Ordinances of the city by amending Chapter 157, Subdivisions, Appendix A, Certificates for Preliminary Plans, and Appendix B, Certificates for Plats and Replats. The Planning Commission recommends approval.
Our subdivision ordinance regulates the development of land not only within the city of Sioux Falls, but within our extraterritorial jurisdiction around Minnehaha and Lincoln counties. These amendments are being recommended by city staff. The purpose is to change the signature blocks on preliminary subdivision plans, as well as the plats and replats that are outside the city limits within the Lincoln County joint jurisdictional area.
It's first reading, council. Motion.
Move for approval, Anderson.
Second, Karski.
Councilor Anderson Jr. has made a motion to set a date of hearing and second reading for Tuesday, April 1st for this item, and seconded by Councilor Karski. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Intiman?
Yes.
Urbanbach?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
That is passed 7-0. Item 32.
A resolution advising and giving consent to the appointment of members to certain citizen boards. And if I may, I'll read the names. James Garrett to the Sioux Falls Convention and Visitors Bureau Business Improvement District. Jolene Matheson Gottschalk to the Sioux Falls Convention and Visitors Bureau Business Improvement District. Jean Hazing, Sioux Falls Convention and Visitors Bureau Business Improvement District. Lee Howell, Sioux Falls Convention and Visitors Bureau Business Improvement District. Shailesh Patel, Sioux Falls Convention and Visitors Bureau Business Improvement District. Shar Roth to the Sioux Falls Convention and Visitors Bureau Business Improvement District. Thea Ryan, Sioux Falls Convention and Visitors Bureau Business Improvement District. Mark Wallstrom to the Sioux Falls Convention and Visitors Bureau Business Improvement District. Steve Westra to the Sioux Falls Convention and Visitors Bureau Business Improvement District. James Larson, Commission on Human Relations. Aaron Hurley, Sioux Falls Regional Emergency Medical Services Authority, REMSA. And Ivy Oland, Visual Arts Commission.
Move to approve, Urbanbach.
Second, Intiman.
Councilor Urbanbach's made a motion to approve these items, seconded by Councilor Intiman. Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Intiman?
Yes.
Urbanbach?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
That is passed 7-0. Item 33.
A resolution of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, approving the placement of a commemorative plaque on public property.
This resolution would allow the installation of a commemorative plaque recognizing the contributions of James W. Ellman in support of the bike trail system. The location would be along the bike trail near 49th Street within Oxbow Park. This is being recommended to you by both the Parks and Recreation Board as well as our naming committee.
Is there anyone in the audience who wants to speak to this item? Council?
Move for approval, Anderson.
I'll second, then question.
Councilor Anderson Jr. has made a motion to approve this item, seconded by Councilor Urbanbach. Councilor Urbanbach?
Just a question about the wording in loving memory. Is the city paying for this or is someone else paying for it?
It's all privately funded.
It's all privately funded, so we are simply approving that it be placed on city property?
Correct.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Councilor Anderson Jr.
Mike, didn't the Ellman family help us with the facility off of 12th Street too,
Yes.
right there on the bike trail?
Yes.
Okay. I thought that would be a more appropriate place, but.
Well,
Councilor Urbanbach?
Just to clarify that I'm not being disrespectful of the gift. I'm very grateful to the Ellman family, and I'm sure that Mr. Ellman was an amazing person. I never met him. I'm just concerned about using public money to say that we loved him, and that's all I'm doing.
You bet.
I'm sorry. I didn't know him. I'm
A
sorry.
roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Intiman?
Yes.
Urbanbach?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
It's passed 7-0. Item 34.
A resolution of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, approving the placement of a sculpture on public property.
This resolution would allow the placement of the 2011 People's Choice Award called Hey Mary Lou Blindside. And this would be placed out on the northwest corner of the new Denny Sanford Premier Center as part of our development plan. This recommendation is also coming to you by way of approval of the Visual Arts Commission.
Would anybody want to speak to this item? Council?
Move to approve, Intiman.
Second, Jameson.
Councilor Urbanbach has made a motion to approve this item, seconded by Councilor Jameson. A roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Intiman?
Yes.
Urbanbach?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
That is passed 7-0. Item 35.
A resolution of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, approving the placement of sculptures on public property for an internationally recognized visual arts program known as Sculpture Walk, Sioux Falls 2014.
This resolution would allow our 11th year of Sculpture Walk to go forward this year. There'll be 55 sculptures placed downtown, and this is also being recommended to you by the Visual Arts Commission.
Move approval, Aguilar.
Just before I'm so sorry. Is there anyone in the audience who wanted to speak to this item? Councilor Aguilar.
Move approval.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Anderson Jr.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilor Entman.
I might just add that Mr. Clark and Mr. Cooper were here earlier at the council informational meeting at 4 o'clock, and we had a great presentation by Mr. Clark on the statues that are going to be placed this year. So a fantastic job and great show. Thank you, Jim. Thank you.
Good job there, Councilor Entman. Councilor Anderson Jr.
Also to Mr. Clark, a long time ago, we had a discussion about about this walk. You proved me wrong, and each year you make it even better. Thank you.
A roll call vote, please.
Councilmembers Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Intiman?
Yes.
Urbanbach?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Thank you. We did have a motion, didn't we?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
And a second.
And a second, thank you. That is passed 7-0. Council, any additional business?
Move to adjourn.
Councilor Karski's made a motion to adjourn, seconded by Councilor Urbanbach. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This meeting is adjourned. Thank you, Sioux Falls. Make it a great night.